I'm 73 years old, and I built a life that looked right from the outside, but felt empty when I finally slowed down enough to notice. I didn't come here to complain. I'm not angry. I'm just telling the truth, because I don't have much use for pretending anymore. At this age, there's a kind of quiet that settles in. It gives you room to see things you spent years avoiding. And what I see now is a life that made sense at every step, but somehow missed the point. I wake up early these days, not because I have to. My body just does it. The house is still, too still most mornings. I sit at the kitchen table with my tea, and I look around at things I worked very hard for. It all looks proper, like something you'd be proud to show a guest. But there's no one here to show. That's the part I didn't plan for. I used to think if you did things the right way, things would feel right too. That was the assumption. You work hard, you build something stable, you take care of your responsibilities, and eventually there's a kind of satisfaction waiting for you. Not excitement, I wasn't chasing that, just something steady, something that felt like enough. But enough is a strange thing. You can spend your whole life chasing it without ever asking what it actually feels like. When I was younger, I didn't think in those terms. I wasn't asking myself if I felt fulfilled. That wasn't the language we used. You did what needed to be done. I got my first real job in my early 20s. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. That mattered. My father used to say, find something stable and stick to it. So I did. I showed up early, stayed late when it was needed, kept my head down. That was how you moved forward. And I did move forward, slowly but steadily. I met my wife around that time. She was warm in a way I wasn't, easy to laugh. She had this way of noticing small things, a bird on a wire, a song playing faintly in a store. She'd point things out, and I'd nod, but I was usually thinking about something else. Work, mostly. Not because I didn't care about her, I did. I loved her in the way I knew how. I just thought love meant providing, being reliable, not making mistakes. She didn't complain, not in the beginning. We got married, bought a house we could just barely afford. I remember signing the papers and feeling not joy exactly, but relief, like I had checked an important box. That's how it felt back then, a series of boxes, job, marriage, house, each one giving you a brief moment of quiet before the next one appeared. We had 2 children, a boy and a girl. I remember holding them when they were born. Those moments were real. I won't pretend they weren't. There was something there, something pure. But even then, I think part of me was already stepping away. Not physically, I was there. I changed diapers, paid the bills, fixed things around the house. I did all the things a good man was supposed to do. But I was always slightly ahead in my mind, thinking about the next expense, the next promotion, the next problem to solve. I told myself I was doing it for them. And in a way I was. But I never stopped to ask what they actually needed from me. There were small moments I can see clearly now. They didn't feel important at the time. My daughter asking me to come watch her school play. I said I'd try, but there was a meeting that ran late. I told myself there would be other plays. My son wanting to show me something he built. I nodded while reading something for work. I said, that's good, without really looking. Little things, that's what they were. They didn't feel like decisions, just moments that slipped by. My wife would sometimes say, you're not really here. Not in an angry way, just tired. I'd respond the way I always did. I'm doing this for us. That was my answer to everything. And it worked in the sense that it ended the conversation. Years passed like that, quietly, efficiently. I moved up in my job, not to the top, but far enough that people respected me. I became someone others relied on. That felt good in a practical way.
There's a certain comfort in being needed. But being needed at work is not the same as being known at home. I didn't understand that then. At home, things became functional. We had routines, dinner at a certain time, weekends for errands, occasional visits with friends. It all looked normal. If you had looked at our life from the outside, you would have said, "They're doing well." And we were, by most measures. But there was a quiet distance that grew over time. Not because of one big argument or a single mistake, just accumulation. Unsaid things, unnoticed feelings, missed moments that never came back. My wife stopped pointing out the small things eventually, the birds, the songs. I don't remember when that stopped, only that it did. We talked about practical matters, bills, schedules, what needed fixing. We didn't talk about much else. I didn't think it was a problem. I thought this was just what life became after a while. You settle into it. You accept it. That's what I told myself. The children grew up, faster than I expected. That's something people say, and it sounds like a cliché until you're the one standing there, wondering where the years went. They left for their own lives, jobs, families, different cities. I remember helping them pack, giving advice they didn't ask for, telling them to be careful, to work hard, the same things I had been told. When they left, the house became quieter, but I still had work, so I didn't feel it fully. Work filled the space. It always had. Then one day, it didn't. I retired at 65. It wasn't sudden. I had planned for it. Financially, I was in good shape. That was something I had always made sure of. I remember my last day. People shook my hand, said kind things, told me I had done well. I went home that afternoon and sat in the living room. It was quiet. Too quiet. For the first time in decades, there was nothing urgent waiting for me. No calls to return, no deadlines. Just time. And that's when something uncomfortable started to settle in. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had spent so many years filling my days with work that I had never built anything else. No real hobbies, no deep friendships, no habits that had nothing to do with productivity. Just empty space. My wife was there, of course, but by then we were different people. Not in a dramatic way. We just didn't know how to reach each other anymore. We had spent years talking around each other, not to each other. We tried in the beginning, small conversations, sitting together in the evenings, but there was a stiffness to it, like we were strangers being polite. I could feel that something had been lost, but I didn't know how to name it or how to get it back. Then she got sick. It wasn't sudden, but it moved faster than we expected. Hospital visits, tests, long waits in quiet rooms. I was there for all of it. I didn't miss a single appointment. And for the first time in a long time, I was fully present. But it felt late. We had conversations in those final months that we hadn't had in years. She asked me questions I didn't know how to answer, simple ones. Were you happy? I didn't say much. I didn't know what the honest answer was. She told me she had missed me, not physically, but me. That stayed with me. The idea that I had been there all those years and still not really there. She passed away when I was 68. The house became very quiet after that. Not just physically. There's a different kind of silence when someone is gone. It has weight to it, the kind you can't ignore. That's when the memories started coming back more clearly. Not the big events, the small ones. All the times I had said later. All the moments I had treated as unimportant, because I assumed there would be more time. That's the part that feels hardest to sit with now. Not that I made terrible decisions. I didn't. I was responsible, reliable. I did what I thought was right. But I kept postponing the parts of life that actually make it feel like something. And eventually, There wasn't as much time to come back to them. My children call sometimes. They visit when they can. They're good people. I'm proud of them. But they have their own lives now, their own responsibilities. The same cycle. We sit together and the conversations are polite. There's love there, I think, but there's also distance, the kind that builds slowly over years and becomes normal. I wonder sometimes what they remember about me, not what I provided, but who I was. I'm not sure there's much there. That's a strange thing to realize. To have lived a whole life, done everything you were supposed to do, and still feel like you were only partially present for it. There are things that can't be fixed now, conversations that won't happen, moments that won't come back. I can't go back and sit at that kitchen table when my children were young and actually listen. I can't go back and walk with my wife and notice the things she was trying to show me. I can't rebuild something that was never fully built in the first place. Time doesn't work that way. It moves in one direction, whether you're paying attention or not. And I wasn't paying attention for a long time. If you're listening to this, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I don't have that kind of authority. I can only tell you what it feels like to reach this point and see things clearly. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's quiet. You look at your life and you see that it made sense on paper. But when you sit with it, it feels thin, like something important